Okay, I'm here with Dr. Richard Bandler, the co-creator of NLP and the father of NLP, and we'll ask him some questions about NLP and about all the things that he has been doing for these 30 years. 40 years.
4 decades.
4 decades, okay. Dr. Bandler, since you define NLP as the study of the subjective experience structure, could you please define what does subjective structure mean to you?
Well, neuro-linguistic programming itself is really the study of successful behaviors. And to say it's the study of the structure of subjective experience means it's about how people think both consciously and unconsciously that makes them successful in what they do. It's not really our job to study unsuccessful behaviors. Psychologists study groups of depressives and groups of schizophrenics, and groups of learning disabled people to find out about them. What we do is we model people who went from having problems to not having them to find out what they did subjectively and teach other people to do the same things. And that has primarily, especially now, not so much in the beginning, but very much for the past 20 years. Since I defined the model of submodalities, we now really look at not just that people are making mental images, but where they are, how big they are, how close they are, whether they're a movie or a slide, whether voices sound like they're going in or going out, and the direction in which feelings are moving through the body. Because the more you replicate successful behaviors, when you teach kids to spell, the size of the letters in their mind makes a big difference. The bigger the letter, the easier they are to see. And when you teach people to draw, teaching them to imagine a hand that traces something, a little wire to their real hand, teaches them to do what artists subjectively do. It doesn't make them paint exactly like that person paints, but it gives them an edge up. When you take a great pool player and they imagine lines across the table, if somebody tries to play pool without having that same imagination, it's going to be a lot harder for them to be good at things. So in the sense that we study subjective experience, we're studying the structure of imagination, the structure of memory, the structure of how people spell, the structure of how people do it subjectively, what they do consciously, and what their unconscious behavior is. Because I believe if you change the way you think, you change the way you feel, and therefore you can change what you can do.
Dr. Bandler, how does this subjective structure relate to time?
Well, we all have a sense of time, and that's very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
That, certainly a race car driver's sense of time is going to be different than somebody walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And your ability to slow time down and speed it up is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Because it relates to the state of consciousness in which you're in. Mm-hmm. And being in just the right subjective state of consciousness is really important to perform tasks. The ability for somebody to sit down and meticulously draw things, right? It isn't going to work if it seems like it takes 4 hours. They have to be able to take massive amounts of time and have it seem like it's going by very quickly. Mm-hmm. Where a race car driver has to take, really high speeds and slow them down. Golfers have the ability to switch their sense of distance, and distance and time, of course, are very related. And where they may seem like it takes forever for a golfer to tee off, to him it doesn't seem that way. He's going like that and looking and imagining the fairway shrinking because it changes the way you adjust the micro muscles in the body, mm-hmm. so you can actually hit the ball far. And so our subjective sense of time about things influences. Some people can go through very long thought processes in a split second. I mean, we dream a whole day in a second while we're asleep. So our ability to process information, the faster we process information, the more time slows down. The slower we process information, the inverse is also true.
So it's not about objective time. It's not that we have watches and this watch is showing us how time just passes.
Well, our circadian clock is very precise. Our body knows how much time is really going by, but that's different than how much time feels like it's going by. Mm-hmm. That, we have a good enough clock that most people, even if they set an alarm, wake up just before it goes off. That, that I can put somebody in trance and tell them in 4 minutes and 38 seconds, they'll open their eyes. And it's amazing how precise they are. They're precise as a Swiss clock. And so kinesthetically, we know what real time is. But there's also imaginary time, dream time, sleep time, thought time. And anybody who's had to wait in line at the airport knows that time can stand still. Now, it's not the airport that makes that happen, it's our experience of it. You know, when I fly, I like to go into an altered state so it doesn't seem like it takes so long. And, you know, I know that when I wake up on an airplane, there are some people there that are ready to claw the windows out of the plane because they've adjusted it in their mind the wrong way. So that a 2-hour flight seems like it's gone on for 24 hours. And getting control of these mechanisms, which are supposed to be out of our control, these are the tools that NLP offers people. And it offers people the ability to adjust your consciousness so that you have greater success in life.
So altered states are usual states. I mean,
well, altered states, you know, most people experience altered states based on how they grew up and randomly, and they don't have much control over it. Most people don't have much control over their heart rate either. But people who either meditate, and people who go into trance, and people who do yoga, and people who do self-hypnosis, all of these things, you learn to master altered states, and you get greater control over not just biological functions, but cognitive functions as well.
Okay, thank you very much.